Hi, this is Patty Bissett, and thanks for joining me on my schema-based math instruction presentation. It's designed for an in-service collaboration or professional development day. It could also be used at a staff meeting. What is schema-based math instruction? Well, many teachers are already using components of these strategies. However, for ultimate results district-wide, it is important for all teachers and staff to use the strategies and vocabulary consistently. This will help students build their knowledge and word problem-solving strategies from one year to the next. These strategies are very important for students with language-based learning differences. These students have no problems with math concepts usually, but when they encounter word problems, they shut down. They get overwhelmed by the amount of words they have to read. According to our school's MCAS data, of the 4 open response questions from the 2014 test, our scores are below the state average on every question. We want to make sure that our students know how to solve word problems. At a later date, our school will address how to write a cohesive explanation for an open response question for our kiddos. Word problems affect all students and prepare them for real-world math situations. These are actual math standards from the Common Core state standards, and you can see that it begins in kindergarten and continues through 8th grade and beyond. I only looked up to 8th grade because that's what our school model is doing right now, up through 8th grade with this. And here we have 7 tips for teachers and parents too. It's important to have parents on board and help them feel more comfortable with helping their children with math at home. So through our monthly newsletters, information on the school website, and school-wide math nights, parents can be encouraged to use these strategies too. Explicit instruction not only helps the average student, but also students with difficulties attending and comprehending. There are other graphic organizers available. As part of this presentation, grade-level groups of teachers will work together to solve various MCAS release open response questions using the graphic organizers and the explicit instruction techniques described. By seeing these problems through the eyes of a student, the teachers will be better able to provide appropriate problem-solving strategies. And you can see that this is a parts and total diagram, and then this is a change diagram, where we start with a number, we're subtracting out a number, that's the change, and then we ended up with this number. This is from Everyday Math from the University of Chicago. Our school used to use Everyday Math, but now we have switched to Envisions Math, and that's where this graphic organizer comes from for 3rd and 4th grade. As you can see, this graphic organizer is asking the children, of course it starts with the problem, and it's asking the children what is it that they need to find, what do they need to know, what strategies can they choose from to help them solve the problem, how could they show the problem and the solution, is there a number sentence that they could be using or an equation, what's the answer with the unit, and we always like to teach our kids to check their answer to see if it's reasonable, does it make sense, is it logical? All very important tasks for when we're solving word problems. Often we teach students to look for key words when solving word problems, but this can get some students, especially students with language-based learning disabilities, into trouble due to the exceptions to the rules, and there's a lot of them. Instead, let's teach the students how to categorize the math problems and use appropriate graphic organizers to solve them. So we have change, group, and compare problems for addition and subtraction. And we have multiplicative, compare, and equal groups for multiplication word problems. And we'll be looking at some examples in just a second. Here's the categories according to the Common Core. In fact, we're going to jump to that website and check them out right now. Here we are at the Common Core State Standards website. It's the Table 1 in the Mathematics Glossary section at the bottom. And this is for addition and subtraction. And these are the add to, and then the categories are result unknown, change unknown, and start unknown. And then there's the take from, again with the result unknown, change unknown, and start unknown. For put together and take apart, we have total unknown, addend unknown, and both addends unknown. And to compare, we have difference unknown, bigger unknown, and smaller unknown. These make great exemplars for teachers when we're developing word problems for our kids so that we've got good common language. We also have the categories for the multiplication and division problems that can be found on the Common Core State Standards website. So let's go take a look at those. Okay, here we are at the multiplication and division situations. We have equal groups, and for that we have the unknown product, the group size unknown, and the number of groups unknown. For the arrays and the area, we have those same categories. And for the compare, again, those same categories. And then just in general, these are the number sentences or equations that we would teach the kids to use. All right, now back to the PowerPoint. This is open response question 18 from the 2014 MCAS release questions. 24 of our students left this one blank or received 0 points. 15 received 1 point and 61 received 2 points, which is the max. If we look at student samples, we can get an idea of how students answered this question. One thing I will note here is that the 3rd grade MCAS open response questions are much more kid-friendly than the 4th grade MCAS open response questions. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education provides 3rd graders with boxes for the response elements for each open response question. They don't do that for 4th graders, poor things. Now let's jump to this website. Okay, and here are the exemplars. This child got 2 points. They followed the directions to use some of the 1-inch tiles to make a rectangle. They traced around each tile to show how the tiles go together to make the rectangle. And then they said that what is the area of the rectangle, and they answered 10 square inches, which is correct. And then they explained how they found the area of the rectangle they made. And this child wrote, I found the area of my rectangle by counting the squares on the inside of my rectangle, which is a perfectly acceptable answer. All right, this child also received 2 points. They used 6 tiles, and so they had an area of 6 square inches. And their explanation was that they know that 3 times 2 equals 6, and they have 2 rows of 3, and that equals 6. That was a beautiful mathematical answer there using that number sentence. This child got 1 point. They had a decent rectangle. They knew that it was 10 square inches. However, the explanation is very weak. I made a small rectangle, then I made it bigger and bigger. Doesn't show that they know anything about area. This child who got 0 points did not trace their 1-inch tiles, and they actually did the perimeter instead of area. And so their explanation is, I saw that they were 1 inch, so I put 1 inch on both of the sides and 3 inches on the top and the bottom, which is correct, but they missed the boat on this one. The big question is, did they not know the difference between area and perimeter, or is it because all these words were just too overwhelming for them and they just couldn't tease out the big so what's of this problem? Is it a math problem, or is it a language-based problem? That's the big question. Okay, here we are back, and we're talking now about instructive feedback, going beyond the good job response. Instructive feedback fits nicely with explicit teaching, as it is explicit feedback. Students tend to gain more knowledge from this type of feedback and retain that knowledge longer. Instructive feedback also gives students an opportunity to learn from their mistakes. Studies also show that the instructive feedback helps kids with their self-esteem better than just the attaboy, good girl kind of stuff. So this language we all should be using. It takes a lot of practice though. According to some studies, motivation to solve word problems increases when there's money involved. A note on personalization of word problems. Children, especially in the younger grades, get excited to see their names in word problems. This is very motivating for them. It doesn't always guarantee they're going to be able to solve the problem correctly, but at least they want to solve it. That's a big plus. Motivation is key for students who have language-based learning disabilities too. Direct and explicit instruction with graphic organizers helps here, as does making sure that they tie into real-world experiences. The graphic organizers and direct and explicit instruction, these are tools that give students the confidence they need to solve word problems on their own during the high-stakes testing when they don't have as much support. Thanks so much for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.